James Comey, the former FBI director, stands before a Senate committee on Thursday to give evidence about the president who fired him. It will be one of the most dramatic moments in U.S. political history. The stakes will be as high as they have ever been at a congressional hearing. The questions Comey will be asked by the Senate Intelligence Committee include whether Donald Trump tried to persuade him to stop an investigation into improper contacts between a top advisor and Russian officials, whether Trump sought to extract a vow of personal loyalty, and whether Comey was fired because he did not comply. Trump has denied trying to make Comey drop the case, but if Comey contradicts him and is supported by other evidence, it would represent potential obstruction of justice by the president and mark a long leap down the road towards impeachment. Even in the Teapot Dome scandal that shook Warren Harding's administration in the early 1920s, and in the Watergate affair half a century later, it was not alleged that the president himself tried to intimidate an investigator. And the context, the possibility of collusion with the Kremlin to skew a presidential election, is far more grave than the issues of bribery and political dirty tricks underpinning those two other historical stains on modern American democracy. For all those reasons, what Comey says on Thursday could help decide whether Trump survives in office through his first term. That is a milestone that is already in doubt since the appointment on 17 May of a special counsel to take over the broad investigation of Trump campaign links with the Kremlin. There is speculation that the president might try to seek to invoke executive privilege to stop Comey testifying this week. Citing two senior administration officials, the New York Times reported that Trump will not seek to block Comey's appearance. Trump spokeswoman Kellyanne Conway, however, would not rule out the option, saying it was up to the president to make that decision. Executive privilege would be a desperate gambit. No president has ever tried to use it to stop a former official, who was willing to speak, from giving testimony. Richard Painter, who was chief ethics lawyer in the George W. Bush White House, pointed out that having fired the FBI director, Trump has little leverage to stop him speaking. "I don't think that Jim Comey is going to give a rat's behind about what Kellyanne Conway has to say," Painter said. In theory, Trump could get the Justice Department to go to court to get an injunction against Comey testifying, but government lawyers would face an uphill battle. The courts ruled in the course of the Watergate scandal that executive privilege cannot be used to hide inappropriate or unlawful conduct by the executive. And Trump himself has already put the substance of his conversations with Comey in the public domain by giving his version of them, claiming to NBC that the FBI director told him 3 times he was not under investigation. It would be a huge political risk for the White House, given the low chance of success in court and the political costs of failing, said Matthew Miller, a former Justice Department spokesman. The White House has sought to block the congressional investigation of Trump-Russia links in other ways, taking the unprecedented step of instructing government agencies not to comply with requests for information from Democrats. But Trump cannot rely entirely on the loyalty of congressional Republicans. Most importantly, Richard Burr, chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, is showing growing independence from the White House. The most substantive evidence of the shift to date is the committee's invitation to Comey to give testimony in open session. There is also very little Trump can do to impede the work of the special counsel, Robert Mueller, who was Comey's predecessor as FBI director, and whose appointment to take over the Russian investigation was a direct and unintended consequence of Comey's sacking. Mueller has wide-ranging powers and will be hard to fire. On Friday, he was reported to have expanded the scope of his inquiry to include the lobbying work done by former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn while he was weighing in on U.S. policy in Syria. It was also reported by the Associated Press that Mueller has taken over a criminal investigation involving Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign chairman, and could also investigate the roles played by Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein in the firing of Comey.